the Woolly East.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. If you look at the first paragraph,
The first line of page 4.
the first paragraph of page 4,
Okay.
and the second line,
Okay.
that's where I have problem. Section put that the August Assembly do consider the report of the Committee of Selection on the report of the Committee of Selection. I think after selection, in the second line, we just said instead of on.
Report of Committee of Selection on the nomination of membership to committees. You said also suggestion.
I said regarding the nomination, instead of on the nomination, again, you put on there 3 times.
No, I understand. But selection on the nomination of members. Honorable members. Yes. Honorable member.
Honorable Speaker, I think member, if you look at it in inverted commas, and then the title of the report, that's why it was drafted on the ordinary report. So they are reflecting on that report, which are on inverted commas. Thank you.
Honorable members, can we proceed then?
Honorable members, can we proceed then?
Yes.
We now move to page 5. Yes. Woolly East.
Yes, thank you. On the end of debate, we have at the invitation of the Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Bill. Under the end of debate, the paragraph under the end of debate, you've seen that?
Yeah.
First line.
Yeah.
We removed the Honorable Bill Tungara. We removed the D, the Article D. And if you go further, it says majority.
I'll do it one by one so that members can follow you.
Okay. End of debate.
At the invitation of the Honorable Speaker, he said we removed the
D that is there, the D Honorable. The Honorable Bill Tungara. We removed the Honorable Bill Tungara. Majority leader. The leader is missing. It's just majority. Majority leader. Leader is missing there. You've seen it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Members, are you following?
All right.
Okay, any order on page 5? Any observations on the observations made by the member for Woolly East? I think acceptable. Member for Slower Salem?
Yes, Honorable Speaker, I will refer back to page 4. Ensuring debate.
You going back to page 4?
Yes. Number 25. Honorable Facham, Sanem and is spelled. I don't think it tallies with the tag.
Okay.
Yes.
Honorable members, number 25 of page 4, second to last line, name. Honorable Fatu Cham, Sane Mentoring. It's not Sane Mentoring. He is asking that the spelling be corrected. The table office will know those things. Any on page 5? We now move to the last page. 6. Yeah. You have seen something on page 5? Yeah, page 6. Go ahead.
It's just a typo there. The same guy. It's wrong, long respect.
Where?
The motion was carried and the assembly agreed to adjourn since that.
DE, it is, put DE, it should be DIE. Any order? Yes, Honorable Member.
Yes, Speaker, if you check on the order paper, I refer to the order paper, please.
You are referring to the order
paper, yes.
Today's order paper.
Yeah, there is something to change. Instead of 6th assembly, 5th assembly. You have 5th assembly, I'm seeing.
Where? On the heading?
On the earth, on top. It should be 5th assembly or 6th. So change it. No, order paper.
Assembly. It has been corrected.
On this paper, order paper.
Yes, you have not got the corrected copy, Honorable Member, have you? Yeah, let them issue with one. Honorable Members, any further observations on page 6? No. Honorable Members, can somebody move that we adopt the Honorable Members, it has been moved and seconded that the record of votes and proceedings of the National Assembly, sitting of Monday, 25th April 2022, be approved with amendments. Those in favor, please say aye. Not in favor, please say no. The ayes have it. Clerk, you may proceed.
Motion. Be it resolved that this August Assembly do consider and approve the laying of the revised estimate of revenue and expenditure for the year 2022, and B, Committee of Supply on the revised estimate of revenue and expenditure for the year 2022, both by the Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs.
Honorable Minister, you are invited.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker and the esteemed August House. I present before you today the revised budget for the financial year 2022. Mr. Speaker, I rise to submit before this August Assembly a revised budget for 2022 as per the provisions of Section 30/1 of the Public Finance Act 2014. That stipulates that the Minister may submit a revised budget to the National Assembly with any changes on the revenues and expenditures that may be required within the limit of the total appropriated amount of expenditures in any particular financial year. The submission of this budget is premised on the following four factors: the downward revision of the total revenue amounting to 3.3 billion, which is 11% of the 2022 originally approved budget. This came about due to revenue shocks, the details of which we will go through shortly. The reduction of the expenditure budget by 1.2 billion from the following categories: debt service and cuts from the ministries, directorates, and agencies, which amount to 3.4% of the approved budget. and the funding of the salary increment amounting to 575 million. And for the fourth item, the creation of 2 new ministries, respectively, Minister of Communication and Digital Economy, and the Minister of Public Service, Administrative Reforms, Policy Coordination and Delivery. This proposed budget is reflective of the current economic realities and consistent with a stable macroeconomic framework. As both the domestic and global economies began to recover from the effects of the pandemic of 2022, the Russia-Ukraine war brought about a dramatic shift in the global economic conditions, characterized by a heightened supply-side constraint, higher food and energy prices, fueling inflationary pressures across the globe. The resulting effect of the growing poor performance of the domestic resource mobilization, affecting oil-related taxes, as well as putting increasing pressures on government expenditure needs. These effects, together with the creation of additional 2 ministries and the decision of the government to increase the salary of the civil servants, necessitated the revision of the 2022 approved budget to accommodate these changes. Recent economic developments. Mr. Speaker and honorable members of the House, in 2022, initial growth was forecasted to be 5.8%, largely driven by strong private remittances inflow to support construction and domestic demand, as well as a more sustained recovery in the tourism sector. However, the Russia-Ukraine war has dramatically shifted the outlook to the downside, with overall economic growth revised downwards to 3.8%, induced by heightened inflationary pressures, increased food and commodity prices, agricultural inputs such as fertilizer prices, and energy prices. In addition, the growing global supply chain bottlenecks and a reversal in general monetary policy direction further exacerbate the downside risk to growth. As a result, in 2022, the agricultural sector is estimated to only grow marginally to 4.8% from, and while this industry sector and service sectors are projected to record a decline of 6.3 and 1.1% in 2022, compared to 10 and 1.9% respectively. However, the faster than anticipated recovery in tourism arrivals in the early 2021 and the record high remittable macroeconomic landscape has dramatically rendered the outlook more uncertain. And as inflation continues on a faster pace, reducing the spending capacity of both the tourists and the government abroad, the trajectory of good performance on tourism and remittances to drive domestic growth is becoming more in doubt. On inflation, the global increase in energy and food prices is fueling inflation, reaching an 11.6% in the June of this year. As supply-side constraints continue, amidst a sustained increase in demand, inflationary pressures are expected to further strengthen, towards stifling the growth prospects, especially for the lower-income import-dependent countries. As a result, inflation is expected to remain above the medium-term target of 5% for the rest of 2022 and beyond. In terms of outlook, growth is projected to moderately rebound to 3.8% in 2022 and strengthen further in the medium term at an average of 4.3% per year thereafter. These projections are predicated upon recovery in tourism, which appears slower than initially anticipated in view of the surge of the global inflation outlook and the ongoing Ukraine-Russia war. Mr. Speaker and honorable members of the House, the rationale for underpinning the revised budget is as follows. As you know, you may be well aware, government has taken a decision to revise the approved 2022 due to the 4 factors mentioned above. The global economic shocks resulting in the non-realization of more than 11% of the revenue budget is one case in point. To ameliorate that, the government decided to reduce other charges and interest on domestic debt to contain the impact of the revenue reduction, and to be able to accommodate the increase in the salary package for the cabinet colleagues. Overall, this has increased the personnel costs to 575 million. The increase is applicable to certain public institutions that use civil service integrated pay scale. To finance the salary increment, government has embarked on expenditure cuts across the board. These cuts affected all the current charges, other charges by 761 million, capital expenditures by 116 million, and debt service by 415 million. On revenues, there is a general decline in revenue and grants, and the continuous subsidies on the petroleum products to the tune of 1 billion for the first 6 months of the year affected the revenue performance for the oil-related products. Budget support grants have been revised downwards due to the non-materialization of budget support from the EU and the African Development Bank for amounts of 30 million, respectively 23 million and $7 million, which translate to 1.5 billion.